Hello and welcome to the SpiderNerd.com podcast. I am your host, Jonathan Weber, aka SpiderNerd, the webmaster of the site. And joining me today is Mr. James Markin.
Are we on this time?
Yes, we're on this time. Unfortunately, James and I just literally recorded about 5 minutes of a show without actually recording it. Because somehow I did not realize that we were not recording. Which really pissed me off. But, how's it going, James? How was your week?
Like I said earlier, pretty crappy. Internet kind of sucked this week, and it was down for stupid reasons, and then finally it came back up, like, yesterday, so I'm in a bit of a better mood now. But besides that, pretty crappy week.
That sucks. I mean, how can we live without the internet these days? It really... And that's not even a joke. It's like a legitimate question. Today's society is bound to the internet completely.
Well, I just mean it because for my other podcast, I had to get stuff going, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that must suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had internet troubles this week as well. Not really like that. It's just motivation to do stuff on the internet I haven't really had this week. But as for myself this week, what have I been doing? I've done absolutely nothing. I went back to school. You know what? I will say I like most of my teachers at school this semester, but one of them actually said to the whole class, I will know if you use SparkNotes for any reason, and if you do, I will file an academic dishonesty charge against you. And I was like, wow, just...
Yeah.
You can't honestly expect me to not use my resources on homework and shit. It's like, file a charge against this. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm basically flipping off the wall in front of me. Yeah, it's just, that was ridiculous. That was the one part of my week where that really stood out, because that was stupid. But aside from that, I've done absolutely nothing this week, so I guess we can just get right into what this podcast is going to be about. And this is about where we've realized that we weren't recording the first time, and we are recording. I can see it this time, so yay! We don't have to waste time again. But what do we have today? Well, we actually have a comic to review today, as well as news stories to go over. So, it should be a fairly decent podcast. Hopefully, it won't take too long, but hopefully it won't be too short, and it'll be a decent length. So, we're going to start today's podcast by talking about Superior 25, the first issue of the Superior Spider-Man to be released this year. And, basic synopsis of it. Basically, the Avengers are attempting to take down Spocktopus / Venompus / whatever you want to call him. Spocktopus kicks the absolute crap out of them. Meanwhile, the Goblins are basically not getting along at all because the Green Goblin keeps stealing the Hobgoblin's shit. Iron Man helps Flash to get the symbiote back and off of Spock, and they manage to succeed in that, and through that time... they actually do manage to get the symbiote off of him and back onto Flash, so Flash does not die, but only with the help of Ghost Peter, who, unknown to all of them, manages to get the symbiote off of Spock, and then Spock creates some bullshit about how the symbiote's been with him all these months, and how the symbiote's been responsible for everything that he's done that's fucked up. And basically the Goblins declare war on each other, and the Avengers go back to being stupid and not realizing that Spock is Spock until Iron Man points out that he never participated in the tests they did on him and goes to check the security footage of that, and it's gone. So that's when they decide to bring Spock in for like the second or third time. That was a basic synopsis of the issue. It was a really crappy synopsis of the issue. I'm sorry, but I just summed that up pretty quickly, and yeah, that was the issue. Really, that was it. So, James, initial grade on this issue?
I'll give it a B. It was better than the other stories parts, like first 3 parts, because the first 3 parts were like literally the first 3 issues of Superior I have picked up since I dropped the title, and they made me want to take a shower afterwards because they were so bad. But this one I actually enjoyed a lot. Like some of the stuff you knew that was going to happen, because obviously when they said that Flash will die in a couple hours, you knew that he was going to get the suit back. And spoilers, they already told us pretty much that in one of the things that Dan Slott talked about, that Ghost Peter was coming back in 25. So pretty much you already knew what was going to happen in this story, going into it if you read the spoilers and knows what's going on. But besides that, I actually thought it was pretty good, and it kind of showed what would happen if a Spider... Pretty much, I thought what would happen to Peter if, in the 80s if he kept the black suit, is what Otto exactly did with it, pretty much.
Well, see, here's where I'm coming from with this. I did not read the spoilers. I mean, like, I knew... I mean, obviously, I heard the Amazing announcement and everything, but I didn't read the spoilers that Ghost Peter would be coming back in this issue, or all of that. So, and honestly, it wouldn't have surprised me at all had they killed Flash. Because Dan Slott just kills characters right and left. But my grade on this issue, C-. I was disappointed with it. I honestly was. I mean, in contrast to James' opinion of it, I really didn't think it was that good. I felt a lot of it was unnecessary, unnecessary is kind of a bad word to use with it, because nothing in this issue was really unnecessary. Well, there were a few scenes, but everything was there for a reason. But I did feel some plots kind of distracted from others that really deserved excuse me, sorry, really deserve more screen time, more time in the issue. And I felt that a lot of this issue was just not what I was hoping for from this finale. And as I said in my written review on the site, which I finally put up today when we're recording this. This podcast isn't going to go up till Sunday, which is tomorrow when we're recording this. But I did finally put that up like literally an hour ago. I apologize to anyone who was anxiously waiting for that, because that was... I've had an interesting week again. But, C- out of me. I didn't think it was that amazing or anything, so, yes, C-.
Well, of course it wasn't amazing. It was superior.
What?
I say, of course it wasn't amazing. This is the superior Spider-Man. That's not coming until a few months from now, the Amazing Spider-Man.
I see what you did there. The essence of comedy at work.
I know, it failed.
Yes, I know. I was trying to save you. But basically, we can just basically go through the big plots of this issue and talk about what we thought of each plot, I guess. We'll start off with the Goblin plot, because I have to say I was really disappointed and kind of irritated with the Goblin plot in this issue, because it just I mean, I know why it's here, because we have to set up Goblin Nation and everything, but it really got too much time in this issue. It really did, because it seemed to me like every time something interesting would be about to happen in this fight between Venom, Spock, and the Avengers, that they would cut to a Goblin scene that really did not need to be there at all.
Yeah, I get your point. But at least it's better than, like, they would show up, like, once a month or something like that, and they'll be like, should we do something, Goblin? We should do something, other Goblin. We are doing something, other Goblin. What are we doing? I don't know. We're just standing here and talking about how we're doing stuff. Why are we just standing here saying we're going to do stuff? Because we have to wait till the big storyline next year. Now they're actually doing something.
Yeah, except they're doing shit, but it's at the wrong time. I mean, I do feel bad. I feel kind of bad because I was one of those people who kept complaining that the Goblins just weren't doing anything. But now now Dan Slott is actually giving us the Goblins doing something, and I'm complaining about it still. So I do feel kind of bad, but it's just like they're taking away from from this story that I want to read. They're taking away from the Avengers and Venom Spock story. That's the story I wanted to read in this issue, and I felt that the Goblin plot really did take away from that.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. I like goblins. They're like my favorite villains in Spider-Man, the Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, all of them. But this is getting like too much. It's either they're too little in a book where you want to see more of them and you're getting nothing for slot, or you're getting like now where it's like, holy crap, I only have 5 more issues to go. I have to shove everything in now.
Yeah, it's like, it's called the middle zone. You don't put too much in, but you don't put too little in. Honestly, I mean, they should have probably been doing this stuff like back before this arc. You know, you didn't have to complete their storyline, but, you know, or the setup for their storyline, but you had to at least start to introduce it. I mean, yes. I mean, the Goblin has been dressing up as the Hobgoblin ever since, like, issue 18, whatever sense that makes. But really, they should have done more with it instead of making the Goblins do pretty much nothing from 19 through 23. They did pretty much nothing, and now these past 2 issues they're doing stuff, but it's taking away from the story that we want to be reading and we should be reading. So it ultimately is pretty disappointing that we finally get our wish of the Goblins doing something, and it takes away from the story at hand. Though I will say the one part about the Goblin plot I did like was the whole Carly Cooper monster thing. You know, how Carly Cooper has now become Monster. I think that's what he named her. Yes, he named her Monster. I did like her design. I felt that she looked fairly scary, but not too scary that it was going to freak kids out. Like kids even read these comic books any day. But it's not too scary, but it's not too... What's the word I'm looking for? Girly, I guess. I don't know. I like the design quite a bit. It's a decent one.
Yeah, she looks pretty badass. I gotta say that. I'm looking at the panel now. It's a pretty cool design.
And I especially... I don't know if this is like, shit, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of any words I'm looking for today. I like how it's fitting that she's in a rather scaly dress in this one panel, just like the Goblins are. So I don't know what she was wearing in the past 3 issues. I don't know if she was wearing that or whatever, but I did like her choice of attire in this one scene. I felt it was very fitting. But the one thing about this scene that I didn't
She's wearing a purple shirt, so no, she wasn't wearing that in the past issues. I just open up issue 24 right now. She just has... 23 right now, and it's just some shirt.
Okay. Well, see... Shit, what was the point I was going to make? Why can't I keep my thoughts today? Yeah, the one thing I will say about this scene, though, and it's the one thing that really bugs me, is this whole makeup scene with... you know, Menace doing Carly's makeup. I really didn't think this scene was necessary because nothing happened. Because literally, from a writing perspective, you could have just taken this scene out because it takes up 2 pages, this whole scene. And so what you could have done is you could have taken that scene out because it's completely worthless. Written in Carly, you know, being introduced as a goblin to this later scene in the book where she and Menace attack the Hobgoblin's goons, and had a whole nother 2 pages to play with. That would have been good, because honestly, nothing happens in this scene. The only thing of possible notability is the fact that the Green Goblin says he's Norman Osborn, but refuses to take his mask off, which pretty much states that he's not Norman.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I don't know if you read the Brand New Day issues. I don't know when you jumped on the book or anything. But the Carly makeup scene with Menace, I kind of like that because it's a callback to the early Brand New Day episodes where they were like sisters. Like, it's in a lot of ways they were written to be the girl parallel to Peter and Harry, about how they're the friends where she's the smart one and she's the daughter of a rich guy, and she's also a goblin, and she's in the shadow of her father and in the shadow of her boyfriend who was Harry, kind of. So you had this kind of... They were like the female equivalent of them. So then with the makeup, kind of reminded you that they were friends once, and now that they're both goblins, I guess she and Menace is creeped out mind. She thinks that means me and her are BFFs again because she's a goblin too now.
I see what you're saying there, and I can see why you would make that comparison. Personally, I have not read a single issue of Brand New Day. I didn't jump on the books again until after the Amazing Spider-Man movie back in 2012. But I do see why that could appeal to people, and that's a very good point. I just felt that really there was really nothing to this scene. It was just like, it's like, okay, we're gonna add more mystery to who's behind the goblin mask. You didn't need to do that because the mystery's already there. It's been there for freaking 20 issues or however long.
I think Norman's the mastermind. I just don't think he's the Goblin King. I think he's the puppeteer controlling everybody in this. That's all. If Norman's going to be in there, that's what he's going to be. He's going to be behind the scenes controlling everybody. And the Goblin King thinks he's in control, but surprise, Norman was in control the whole time, manipulating him.
See, I'm not so sure how I feel about that idea because it's like, if it's not Norman, and because why would Norman just do that from the background? I mean, Norman is the kind of guy who wants to be known for that kind of shit. He would want to be known as the Green Goblin and the guy who took over New York. So
he went 20 years between the 70s when he died and the Clone Saga, and he was in hiding, pretending he was dead that long, just so he can come back during the end of the Clone Saga and says, "Fooled you." So Norman has done stuff like this before, where he's been behind the scenes manipulating things. Because he did it during the Clone Saga.
But, see, here's the thing with that, though. Shit. Why do I keep losing my trains of thought? Because I'm looking at the stupid ad in this comic, and it's like, why is this here? But, I mean, I do see what you're saying with that, because, yes, he did do that in the 90s, but that was more so to see if Harry could, because I actually legitimately just read Revelations this week, so that story is actually fresh in my mind. But see, the thing with that was he kind of really had no intention of coming back. He ultimately, or at least how I took it, this is how I took it. He had no real intention of coming back until Harry was killed. That was when he realized, well, Harry wasn't killed. He died because of the whole goblin formula poisoning him thing and everything. But, Harry was just like, once Harry died, that kind of drove him over the edge a bit. And then that's when he decided to destroy Peter Parker's life. I don't know if any of that just made any sense. I'm probably just sounding like a complete idiot right now, but...
Well, being that we know now with Brand New Day that Norman was behind Harry coming back too, how he's the one who covered it up. So why would he come back after Harry's death if he knew Harry was alive?
But wasn't Harry's death, or wasn't Harry's resurrection one of the side effects of One More Day?
No, the writers, the way they explain it, when the brain trust who were writing it, like Dan Slott and all them, they explain it as, we wrote the Harry coming back as in you didn't need one more day for him to come back, that even if Peter and Mary Jane didn't take the deal with Mephisto, he was still going to come back because this was something unrelated to it, they said. They wanted it to have no strings attached to One More Day. So it wasn't a side effect. It was something that Harry died, but the Goblin formula brought him back to life like it did Norman. Norman knew about this, so Norman and Mysterio made the whole world think that there was a Harry Osborn body in the coffin. And he pretty much told Norman, remember, your son's dead, so every time you talk to Peter now on, you got to say your son is dead, your firstborn son is dead, your son Harry's dead, you killed Harry, Harry's dead, and we're going to fight by his tombstone, but he's not really in there. Like, that was the way they explained it all and retconned it.
Okay, I've never heard that. Every single person I've ever heard said that Harry coming back was a side effect of One More Day, but okay.
It was originally, but once they explained it where it had nothing to do with it. They explained it as it was just Norman again. Harry wasn't really dead, and Norman knew that he wouldn't be dead, so he took Harry from the coroner, and Mysterio and him told him, well, you got to be an actor now, Norman. You got to pretend that when you come back, you got to pretend that Harry's dead. You got to say that your son's dead and blame Peter for it, even though we all know, wink, wink, he's alive.
Okay. I feel like a complete idiot right now. But, That's probably because I never read Brand New Day because I wasn't on the books at that time and I haven't gotten to that point in the back issues yet. But, yeah, so that's completely... All my arguments are completely antithetical to the completely logical argument you just made, so I'm just gonna shut my mouth. But, yeah, so maybe Norman is behind the scenes. Who knows? I've just been completely proven wrong. Shows what I know. But, taking on other plots now, we've got, the Avengers, basically... Fuck. Sorry.
Tony.
What?
Iron Man?
Yeah.
You mean Iron... Yeah.
No, sorry, I just dropped a freaking cup of milk on the floor and it just spilled everywhere. So I'm not happy about that right now. But, I'll clean it up later. It's carpet. So, the Avengers are fighting Venom Spock, and basically, they get Iron Man to get Flash Thompson to get them to aid them in their fight against Spock Venom. And basically what happens is Iron Man gives Flash his suit so that they can kind of fake him out and take him from behind, which is... Well, that sounds bad. But, you know, it's actually a fairly decent idea. I do like that Tony was actually kind of smart enough to come up with that, because they established in the issue, because my first thought was, why didn't his spider sense go off when Iron Man hurt him, or when Flash hurt him in the Iron Man suit? But their explanation for it was because Flash still has traces of the symbiote in him, so that was actually kind of a nice little explanation for that. I did like that. That was pretty good. But the Avengers fight, like the total Avengers fight in general, I thought it was okay. It was decently drawn. It wasn't like anything amazing or anything, but it really was... It was a decent fight. It kind of made up for the crap fight that we got back in issue number 8. It really kind of did.
Yeah. Not really much to say about the fight. I thought it was a pretty good fight. The artwork wasn't really that good, but it's Ramos or Ramos, however you pronounce his name. I don't really like his artwork. So it's like that always takes me out of most of his fight scenes. But I liked it too, and Flash fighting Venom is in the Iron Man suit, and the explanation they gave makes sense with the symbiotes, with everything we know about them, about how they block the spider sense and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool how they just said, oh, he still has traces of it. So that was pretty cool. And the only thing I complain about the fight is, how strong is Venom Spock, or Spock Venom, or Superior Venom, whatever the hell his name is? Because if he can take out the Iron Man suit, Captain America, and Thor all on his own.
Well, he didn't really take out the Iron Man suit. He only really took out Captain America.
But I mean, he was holding his own against all the Avengers. Just one guy with the Venom suit. Like, I know Peter's strong with the powers, and Spock's going to be strong with it, and the Venom suit's going to enhance them. But I'm like, come on, he's like bitch slapping Thor and stuff like that. It felt like he had no problem with them. It felt like what I mean.
Yeah, I
mean, until the end. But before that, it felt like it was a walk in the park for him almost.
That was something I noticed, and I did feel the Avengers were going down a little too easily. You know, I think that was just Slott trying to kind of play up the power of this superior Venom, but I do agree that maybe he should have had to put up a little bit more of a fight, because even if he is the superior Venom, it was however many of them versus one of him. And I mean, the Avengers are not, you know, they're not pussies. They actually are a force to be reckoned with. So I did kind of feel that maybe they should have gone down, or Spock should have gone down a little bit easier. But because really they play up the fact that the other Avengers are completely useless, and it's Iron Man who beats him quite easily. So, you know, that does kind of make the other Avengers look bad, but really, this comic is an expert at making the Avengers look bad. We'll get onto that a little bit later.
Yeah.
This comic is an expert at that. But yeah, the fight, it wasn't really anything special. It did kind of make up for the crappy fight we got back in issue number 8, which was crap beyond all reasonable argument. Aside from my few little issues with the fight, it was a decent enough fight. It wasn't really anything big for me. But there are two particular scenes, or two particular things I want to talk about, or three. I'm sorry, three particular things. I don't know why I just said two there. But three particular things that I want to talk about with this. First, the return of Ghost Peter. I have to say, in these 2 pages that he was in, he was written better in these 2 pages than he was throughout the entire first part of Superior.
Yeah, he was. He was a lot better, because I think now that he's writing it, that it is kind of the real Peter, because I think that's where they're going to go. He's now writing him in character. Well, in the beginning, he just said, I have to make him seem like the most annoying ghost thing ever. That way people will hate him and want him out of the book, so when I erase his memories and he goes away, people won't care. But now that he's bringing him back, he's going to actually start bringing him back. He has to act like Peter Parker now. Now he has to get great power and responsibility, and he's going to solve this from the inside, literally.
Well, I think what I've said this in written reviews before, and I'll say it on this podcast. The sign for me that Peter Parker, in at least this mainstream universe, is being written correctly is when I can hear the distinctive voice that I always hear for Spider-Man and Peter Parker. The distinctive voice that I always hear is Christopher Daniel Barnes' 90s Spider-Man.
Me too, dude.
And the minute Ghost Peter came out in this book, I heard his voice, and that was the signal to me that Slott was finally writing him as he should be written.
Because Ghost Peter before is like, you just saw Spock kill a guy, shoot him in the face, and now you're saying, well, I wish I had ghost popcorn. No, that's not Peter Parker.
Yeah, it's Ghost Peter in the first.
This was actually Peter.
Yeah, this seemed a lot more like Peter. And like we said, he was only in 2 pages, but he was better in these 2 pages than the entire Superior run of the first 9 issues. He was very well written in this, and honestly, I don't have a bad thing to say about that scene. But then, of course, we got the bullshit excuse from Spock. I've been strange all of these months because I've had microscopic traces of the symbiote in me. They've been multiplying and taking me over, and that is what ultimately drove me mad. And the Avengers and Mary Jane believe him.
You know what's the weirdest thing is? If we didn't know that Peter's coming back in a few months, and this was like any other issue of Brand New Day, Superior, where they did this, I would be like so mad, like most people online, and be like, "Oh, this book sucks." And if I was reading it, if I was so on with reading the title, it's confusing, I know. But what I'm trying to say is, if this would have been like we didn't know that Peter was coming back, and he was doing all this Superior, and then all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, it was because I had Venom suit all along." Even though everybody knew that Venom's been doing other stuff, especially Cap, I think, would know, because since he knows Flash Thompson's Venom, I think. So then there's just to take that explanation, I would have been all mad. But now that I know that Peter is coming back, I can just shake it off his own. In a few months, Peter's coming back, so they're going to find out the truth eventually. So it's like, okay, a few more issues of them not knowing, whatever.
See, that was kind of the approach I took towards it when I initially read it. But it was just like, I've read this issue 3 times, and it's just like, every time it just gets worse for me. It's like, initially, I was going to give this issue a C+ when I first read it. Then it went down to a C with my second read. And now, with my third read, it's just going down to a C-. Because, honestly, it's like, I don't care if he's coming back in 6 issues. Because we know he is. And I do care about that, because that's awesome. But in terms of this issue alone, I do not care. Because it doesn't matter. The Avengers should have figured it out, because they were the ones who ran freaking tests on him. They should have seen in those tests if a symbiote was there. There was none. So they should have come to that conclusion immediately and realized, okay, that was bullshit.
The only person who I can sort of see believing that is Mary Jane. And I know a lot of people said, "Oh, she's being real stupid," and I agree, she has been real stupid, a lot in Superior. But this one I can believe because in issue 300, Venom scared the living shit out of her. That's why Peter gave up the black suit. So I could see her immediately taking, oh, the black suit is taking over him again. Well, that explains why he's acting so weird. So her saying I can believe. The Avengers, yeah, I agree. The test should have popped up at least some trace of symbiote on them or something like that.
It's like, I wouldn't have had so much of a problem with this if, there is a blatant panel where Wolverine and Spider-Woman both say Spider-Man is the guy he's always been and we're always right. I was like, no. Just...
Yeah, guys. Yes, Spider-Woman and Wolverine, you guys were always right, especially during a Secret Invasion where Wolverine, you couldn't tell that wasn't the real Spider-Woman.
And then Thor comes in and just backs up their point. And it's just like, just come on. This is so irritating. I mean, like, this is probably the most, next to Mary Jane's portrayal, the Avengers not figuring this out is probably the most irritating thing of the entire Superior run.
I know.
I'm just going to say that.
Especially if you read, like, during the Dark Reign. I know I'm bringing up a lot of old comic books, but in context, it makes sense. In the Dark Reign storyline, when Norman ran the universe, pretty much, and the Avengers were considered outlaws, a couple of the Avengers, like Wolverine and especially Clint Barton, Hawkeye, wanted to kill Norman. They wanted to go into Oscorp, guns a-blazing, and to shoot Norman up. And Peter was constantly telling him, no, you can't kill him. He killed my girlfriend. He caused the Clone Saga. He did all this stuff to me. But I'm telling you guys, don't kill him. And now all of a sudden, in Superior, he's killing people, and they don't think twice about it. They're just like, oh, he's starting to kill people. Neat. I mean, literally, that's how they treated it almost. Oh, we have to bring him in for tests, but we kill people too, especially me with my claws because I'm Wolverine, so I don't see what it's a big deal.
It just... Oh my gosh, I can't... I'm going to get indigestion from all this hate.
I hate to be a backseat writer, but if I was Dan Slott, the way I would have wrote it is they would believe his story, and you would make the audience believe, oh my god, the Avengers are stupid. And then when they get back to where the Avengers hang out, because I haven't read Avengers lately, so I don't know where they're hanging out at. But once they go back to that place, they say, okay, guys, we just had to tell him that because we don't want him to know that we're on to him. We knew all along what's going on, that this is not Peter. Let's get ready to bring him in. If they would have done that, it would have made up for everything. Because then I could see them being like, we just wanted to trick him to make him think that we trust him and believe him, but we know something's up. Then I would believe it. But then I think it would have been wrote in a little bit better, because then it made all the Avengers look good. Instead of the Tony Stark scene where it looked like, guys, I didn't do the science stuff. You guys don't even know how to use the copy machine. How did you guys use my machines to figure this all out? I'm going to watch the video to see what you guys did. Oh, the video's gone. Something's up. Yeah, let's go get him.
Yeah, it's just like, I was so thankful that Iron Man was at least the one person who actually said, I call BS on this. Because he actually says, did anyone buy that line of bull from Spider-Man? Because I sure didn't. And then they all say, oh yeah, we pretty much bought it. And he was like, are you freaking kidding me? I was like, Iron Man is the voice of reason in this group. And it's so irritating that none of the Avengers, because these Avengers are all written as being idiots. And none of these people are actually dumb. And so... Yeah,
I know. Because that was my problem with issue 9. Was that they made sure that they said that Tony Stark is on some super secret Iron Man mission, so he's not here. Because Dan Slott knew, okay, I can't write Iron Man as being too stupid to believe this. So what I got to do? Oh, he's off doing an Iron Man adventure that's going on in the Iron Man comic. Yeah, he's off. Okay, the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards, he knows Peter. He would figure this out. Oh, what's going on with the Fantastic Four? Oh, they're off planet in their current storyline. Oh, so they can't contact them because what's going on in their comic? So it was now that you actually are getting the smart guys like Iron Man, saying they're catching on that, okay, this story doesn't make no sense, guys. This is stupid. I don't believe this BS. For before he wasn't there, now that he's there, of course Tony has to be all, well, guys, don't you see this? This doesn't make no sense. He's clearly BSing you guys. No, we believe him because we did science stuff. No, you didn't. You guys just played around with my machine and didn't know what the hell you're doing. It's like watching a DVD player and wondering why your video game won't start.
Okay, yeah, that's basically the description of that. It was horrible. It really was. Pretty much every Avengers scene in this entire run has pretty much sucked. Pretty much sucked. And to backtrack a little bit, we got this scene of Mary Jane going to Peter Puss's apartment. First of all, I have to say that I was really disappointed with Mary Jane in the issue. Not just with what she did, but the fact that she was barely in it at all. Because she was in it for, let's see, 2 pages. 2 pages. That's it. After she was the one to blatantly confront Peter Puss and call the Avengers in the last issue, she does nout in this issue. That was disappointing.
Because if she's in too many panels, she'll take away too much from the goblins that, should have had these panels months ago.
This is a rough comic. Yeah, but MJ...
Why did I give this comic a B again? I'm trying to figure out, because just listening to you, it started to make some sense about, wait a second, yeah, that part was stupid.
This part was so disappointing. I went into this issue with not really high expectations, but I was like, maybe they can save this arc with a strong finale, and it's utterly pissed away. Every chance this arc had of ending on a good note is utterly pissed away with this book, because this book, I paid $4.99 for this book. I feel kind of ripped off. I really do. Because
yeah,
it's...
You know why? I think I can sum this up in a few short words. This issue was useless. Things that they did to continue the story, they should have done months ago, and the stuff that happening in this book self-contained, like Flash and Venom, had no point and were useless, and you could literally skip it and not miss anything, pretty much. Because you end up with the same status quo for him as you do with Spider-Man, pretty much.
Legitimate.
Nothing changed after this issue for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because what changes after this issue? Flash has the Venom suit back. Mary Jane still thinks Peter is Peter Puss, and the only thing that's different really now is that Ghost Peter's kind of back, but even then he came back in issue 19. He just hasn't done jack shit, so that's really not that different. The only thing that kind of leads us into the next issue is the whole Goblin plot and the Avengers saying, "Oh, we have to bring Spider-Man in," which we've seen before. There's nothing in this issue that has some sort of merit that we haven't seen before. So it's like, just, this issue just, it was disappointing. It really was. I think this is a disappointing issue to end a disappointing arc. It just,
it just literally read off as Dan Slott was looking at some old back issues of Peter Parker in the black suit and goes, I wonder what my Spock would do if he had the black suit. I'm going to make a 3-issue arc on it. I got to start building up the Goblin Nation plot and Mary Jane and the Avengers figuring out. But you know what? I can just throw this in here, too. They won't mind if I shove this in there, too, with Venom.
Oh, no. While I'm working on the MJ and Avengers storyline, I'm going to make them literally know nothing more than they did at the beginning. Because...
Well, with Iron Man, the Avengers know a little bit now.
Yeah, okay. With Iron Man, the Avengers know a tiny bit more. MJ, just...
That's the main thing that pisses me off about Superior, Mary Jane. They were better off just writing her out of the book. Like, literally, they should have wrote her off the book that she went somewhere else after 700. Because having her there, it just keeps on every issue making me want to just punch it, saying, why is she so stupid?
Well, I mean, the thing that really got me immediately with MJ, not even the fact that she was barely in the book, the fact that she just blatantly goes back to Peter Puss's apartment. When, after the last time she saw him, he attacked her.
But that was Venom's fault. Dan Slott doesn't want you to remember that Peter's been acting this way since 700. She doesn't connect on. Was the Venom symbiote on him then? No. So they don't want you to think about that stuff. So they make sure that you know that she still cares about him. She's going to go check on Peter Puss. Because she can't know one thing or another, because that was the end of the story today, and we got 5 or 6 more issues ago.
It's like... I'm being completely honest right now. It's the fact that she physically goes to see Peter Puss and is in his presence. There's nothing telling you that he's not going to attack you again. And see, the whole thing is, at this point, she does not know that the symbiote is, she doesn't, that symbiote shit hasn't been pulled on her yet, at least fully. I mean, it's implied at the end of the last issue that she thinks that, but that's not confirmed yet. So it's like, just, I don't even know where the fuck I'm going with
Yeah,
this.
that's where I got it from. I got it from last issue, because the way she acts, she's like, oh my god, here we go again. This is just like what happened in the 80s. Oh my god, it's happening again to him. So that's what I mean. Like, she got it, okay, I believe that, that explains every bad thing that's happened since 700. He's been in the black suit, even though clearly he hasn't been in the black suit, and Venom's been off doing other stuff. Somewhere else completely far away from Peter Parker.
See, here's my response to that is, what happens here is that he explains that there were microscopic traces of the symbiote in him, and they were gradually multiplying over time. So at this point, he's only become Venom now because he's finally able to, because there's finally enough of it in him. Like, while it's been influencing him for all that time, he's only become Venom now. I think that's what she's thinking with this, but it still just makes me want to facepalm, because we all know it's bullshit, and it's like, personally, I think it's time that MJ learned the truth.
They're going to save that for the final issue, a Superior. The big reveal to everybody, to her at least. She's going to figure it out, like she's probably going to be the only person, but it's going to be after Carly turns back to normal and tells her, or Peter, after an amazing #1, where he comes up to her and says, okay, MJ, this is what happened. It's all on the table. Hate me. And then she'll get mad at him for it because it's Peter Parker and everybody's supposed to get mad at him for everything.
Yeah, but it's just... I don't even know what I can say about this MJ plot that I haven't already said a million times on this podcast. Pretty much every scene in Superior with MJ sucks. It just sucks. And it's like, I don't mean to come off as a hater of Superior. I gave it a positive grade at the end of 2013 as an overall run. I gave it a positive grade. And Superior is not a horrible run if you look at it, but it's just the Mary Jane aspects of it just make me want to shove my face through a wall. It's just awful. It's just...
It is. Say it, man. It is awful.
I can't get over how stupid this was. So that's all I've really got to say on this issue. It was a disappointment. It was too much crammed into it. And ultimately, the ending sucked. So, my final grade, I'm going to stick with a C-. James, final grade?
I gave it a B, but after talking about this with you, I'm dropping it at a C.
Yeah. I kind of figured you would, because my arguments are my arguments are pretty valid.
Pretty much as somebody who's been reading the book for a decade now since New Avengers, Mary Jane, especially here, and the Avengers have been rolling dumber than I have ever seen them before, and this issue just proves it, that to keep a storyline going, Marvel writers will make characters look completely stupid and commit character assassination on them just to fit their story, if it makes sense or not. And this kind of proves it, how that he was able to give the whole, Venom was in me, but you don't notice it because microscopic. And yeah, even though there's no way for me to get the microscopic things because Venom's all the way in Philadelphia and I'm all the way here. So, but somehow they got on me, and now that he's folding on me, I became Venom. Okay, you're clear. What?
They actually do explain in the issue that the events of Venom number 4 is where the symbiote and Spider-Man came into contact. But
Now, see, I didn't read Venom number 4, and I must have missed that when I was reading over the comic. I must have missed the reference to Venom number 4.
Yeah, because they put it in a little footnote. It's glossed over very quickly, but it's there.
I skip most of those little footnotes because a lot of times they're just stupid. Like I remember one time during Brian Day where Harry's going over his origins to Peter about him being the Goblin again and what happened. It's in the issue where they reveal what happened to him, and the footnote for everything says, "Watch Spider-Man 3." And it's like, no, it didn't happen the same way it happened in the movie, guys. Don't tell me to go to watch a movie that did not happen the exact same way it happened in the comic.
Wow.
I kid you not. It literally said, watch Spider-Man 3. So what continuity is this issue in, guys?
Oh my gosh.
He did not fight Venom and Sandman when he died in the comics. I have issue 200 in a trade here, guys. I can read it. There is no Venom.
I have issue 200 in a single issue. I have the single issue. I've read it. Venom and Sandman, nowhere near that issue. It's all Green Goblin. And Harry
he talks to Mary Jane about Gwen dying, but in Spider-Man 3 she was alive, so I guess here she was alive too when he died.
Oh gosh.
That's why ever since then I mostly just skip those things because it's either stuff I already know or it's just stupid jokes about watch Spider-Man 2. See the last time he fought Doc Ock. No, he didn't.
Not in this continuity. Yeah. This issue was a disappointment on every level, and I'm just hoping that the next issue is better. That's all I can ask, because this arc has just been mediocre. It's not been very good, and it's disappointing. That's all I can really say about it, is that it's disappointing. Alright, well, we've managed to get 45 minutes out of one single issue, so that's pretty impressive. But now we can move on to the news topics for the week. There aren't too many. They're actually more on the news. They're actually more on the site than we're going to talk about here. But that's because some of them are legit, just not worth talking about. So I picked out what I think are the actually legit ones or interesting ones. First news story we have up today is that literally hours after we recorded last week's podcast, we got the official confirmation that Peter Parker will be returning in The Amazing Spider-Man number 1, due out April 2014. That's pretty much that.
Yeah. Oh, to add on to something that, because I think we talked about this last episode, but just to add on one thing, the twist that Dan Slott talks about in the interview that he goes on about this, I'm calling it now, Ghostock. That it's going to be Otto ghost form, and he's going to try to control Peter to make him do bad things. You watch.
Oh, gosh. Oh, please, dear gosh, no. No.
Because he says that. He goes like, this is a comic book, so there's always a twist to this, guys. You're getting Peter back, but there's always a twist. And I think that's what's going to be the twist, is that you're going to find out that there's going to be a ghost Otto at the end of issue 1.
If that happens, Dan Slott, I'm going to say this on the show, go fuck yourself.
I knew you were going to say that.
Because honestly, I will be so freaking pissed off if that happens, because I do not... I think the Superior should be the end of Superior should be the end of Ock for a while. I don't think... you don't have to kill him off permanently, because no one in this universe ever stays dead permanently. Unless you're Gwen or Uncle Ben.
Well, I think that's what's going to be what happens. Peter's going to think that Ock's dead, that something's going to happen to Ock in his mind, and he's just like, oh, Ock's gone. And at the end of issue 1, Peter's going to do something kind of similar to what happened with Spock in issue 1 of Superior, he's going to do something and he's going to go a little bit too over the edge, like beating the crap out of a villain, and he realizes, holy crap, what I do, that's something Otto would do, and he thinks for a second, and all of a sudden it cuts to his brain, and he goes, and all of a sudden he see a blue text saying, Parker doesn't know that I'm still in here. Oh, see issue 2 coming next week or whatever.
I really hope that does not happen.
I could see Slott doing that, because Superior was a big cash cow moneymaker for them. So I could see Marvel being like, keep him in the book. Find some way to keep Otto in the book.
Oh, gosh, I do not want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. But, yeah. We got the solicits for the first issue of Amazing this week. It's basically just going to be Peter trying to readjust back into his own life while facing Electro. So, of course, we're getting an Electro storyline right before the movie, but that doesn't really bother me because Electro's one of my favorite villains. So, it'll be good to see Amazing Spider-Man come back, Peter Parker come back, Electro come back. If you want to know our full thoughts on this, I'd say go listen to last week's episode because we pretty much talked about it there.
Yeah.
We just got the official confirmation this week, so I figured it was...
Yeah, the only thing really much new is the Electro thing, but they did this with every Spider-Man movie. I mean, the first movie, they had a Return of the Green Goblin arc in Amazing. The second movie, they had a Ultimate storyline where Peter saves Tobey Maguire from Otto Octavius in the Ultimate universe. And then during Spider-Man 3, they had Back in Black, which was Peter back with the black suit. And then the last time with Amazing Spider-Man, they had the Lizard storyline. So it's nothing new. Movie comes around, the villain has to show up.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see Electro again because I feel like he hasn't had a really good storyline in years. So I'm hoping we can maybe get that good Electro storyline in the comics that I've been waiting for a while.
The Brandon Day one where he destroys the Bugle is pretty good, but the artwork in that one is like the worst artist I ever seen on a Spider-Man. But besides that, the story was actually pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty much like a parody of the Occupy, like the Occupy Wall Street. It was pretty much a Spider-Man equivalent of that, where he's leading protesters to take down the Bugle, pretty much.
Yeah, but that's pretty much this story. There's really not much to it. We talked about it last week, so we thought we should bring it up here because it's official confirmation now. So we're definitely looking forward to that. And moving on to our next news topic, we got some concept art from the first Spider-Man movie this week. It's actually quite interesting. Some unused concept art from the Raimi movie, where we got some drawings of early designs of the Green Goblin and Doc Ock back when he was still a part of the first movie script. So, James, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this concept art?
I just saw them, and I think they're actually pretty good. This is obviously concept art from the very, very early beginning. And from what I understand, Otto's role was actually pretty hilarious. How he was just a mindless lackey of the Green Goblin, pretty much, they were planning him. So, and the photos kind of show that too, where he has an Oscorp lab jacket on. And so I liked that we have confirmation about that rumor about what Doc Ock's part was going to be. And the Goblin stuff, it's okay. I mean, it looks almost like what they're doing with the new movie with him. Some of those photos of him in the glider and the suit he's wearing. Where it looks like what we see for Harry in Amazing.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that too. I was like, this does kind of look a lot like the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I mean, obviously, that it's probably not meant to bear any resemblance because, I mean, this concept art is from 12, 13 years ago, and it's just now coming out. But, at the same time, Avi Arad did work on both movies, so, I mean, who knows, but it really did kind of scream Amazing 2 Green Goblin to me. It actually did scream that. Ock, I have to say, Ock looks a bit poop to me.
Yeah.
What is
we
that?
only see the back of his head. But
yeah, and it looks pretty bad because what is that thing on his head? Because they managed to streamline it so well into one little chip in Spider-Man 2. Now he's on back of his head and he's got like this freaking octopus on the back of his head, and it doesn't look good. It really doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad that they didn't go with that design when he appears in Spider-Man 2. How they changed that a lot. That's pretty good.
And the harness is a bit too bulky for my taste.
And is it just me, or does it look like the harness has eyes? Like the little black part on top? It looks like it's some kind of bug, like, hugging him.
I didn't see that, but there's a possibility. Let me take a closer look at the image. I'm looking at it right now. I can't really zoom in for him. Oh, yeah, I do kind of see that. I do see that. I see what you're talking about. It actually kind of does. I doubt that's what they meant it for it to be, but, you know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think Doc Ock looked that good, so I'm kind of glad that they went with a different design for the movie because I thought it looked a bit poop.
And I agree with everybody about Amazing. I mean, not Amazing, but for Spider-Man 1, how about the Green Goblin looked like the Green Power Ranger with his suit design? But after seeing these, I like the movie, what they went with, a lot more better than this, because this one just looked like the green military guy. It doesn't really scream Green Goblin at all, these photos.
I mean, I've never really had a huge issue with how the Green Goblin looked in Spider-Man 1. Yes, he looked absolutely ridiculous. There's no denying that. There's absolutely no denying that. But I think Sam Raimi honestly was just trying to make something that the fans would like, and he thought they would like that. So
I think it was away from what these photos look like and what we got. It was almost like their way of trying to have their cake and eat it too. We're giving him a more realistic military look, but we're giving him the Goblin mask and everything because he's the Green Goblin. The fans are going to want to see that iconic look with the mask. But the way they did it by meshing in with the military design didn't really go well with the fans.
it was really just the mask that was the problem for me, because he had that stupid open mouth that was like you could see his lips through it, and it was really creepy.
I think that's the point, though. It's supposed to creep you out. To me, in that movie when he's the Green Goblin, I'm saying it right now. Those scenes when the little eye things flip up and you can see his real life eyes, and he's talking and you can see it in his eyes. He's more creepier there than when he is when the things are shut.
Oh, definitely, because he can actually express some emotion then, because that was the big problem with the mask. He couldn't express any emotion because it was a solid, mask. It showed nothing. He couldn't express himself. And that's
I don't know.
That's part of the Goblin's insanity is he expresses himself through his facial expressions.
I don't know if you saw this before, but there's a YouTube video of some other early, prototypes of the mask, and they had one that was really comic booky looking, like it was Green Goblin for the comics, and it looked legitimately scary because you could tell it's a mask when they were making it, but then when you see the video of the guy of William Dafoe wearing it or whoever they had, wearing it for this test, and they're using the facial buttons with their remote control to make the motions go from angry to sad to laughter and stuff like that. When he gets to angry and he's looking and he's pretending like he's talking in that mask that looks like the comic book, it looks realistic and it scared the living crap out of me watching that video on YouTube. So I don't know why they didn't go with that mask, because it fit in with the comics and they made it work. Here they just went with whatever they went with.
They went with this solid, emotionless mask that really didn't really help the character very much. I do like the Green Goblin's costume in Spider-Man 1, but I will say that the mask had problems. It did.
I don't have the problems with it like a lot of people do. I liked it because I realized it's a movie and a lot of movies change the designs of the characters, so I didn't really get up in arms like a lot of people did. But still, I'm a fan of the classic Green Goblin with the purple hat and purple boots and gloves and stuff like that. I'm still a fan of that. The old classic Dicko stuff.
Well, I liked how the Goblin looked overall. I felt he looked fairly solid. It was just the whole fact that he couldn't express anything through his face because his mask was solid. That was the one big thing about the mask about the costume that really got to me was. But when he slid his eye things up, that was when he could get a little bit more expressive with it, and that was where it actually did kind of work a little bit. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm yawning. It's only 5:30. I shouldn't be tired yet, but it's getting dark outside. To me, that signals sleep. But ultimately, there's not really much else to say about this concept art. It's cool. You know, we get to see what characters were originally going to look like, even though we might not have liked it. But it is cool to kind of see some behind-the-scenes stuff. But our final news topic of the day is that 7 new pictures have been released from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Some of this we've seen before, some of it we haven't. Basically, I'll just run through the pictures and what each and every one is. One of them is Spider-Man sort of hanging upside down. One is Spider-Man and Harry in a room. Spider-Man holding a police car up, just like he does in the trailer. Spider-Man walking away from a pantsed Alexei Sitsevich. Harry confronting Electro. Electro getting ready to shoot some electrical blast. And Gwen on top of what looks like a giant gear thing. So, I'll just go first with my thoughts on these images. The one that I'm really looking at is Spider-Man and Harry in a room together.
Me too.
Does Harry...
That's the one I got now.
Does Harry know that Peter's Spider-Man? You know, what's going on here? That's what I'm really curious about, because, I mean, some people may be looking at the whole image of him holding the cop car up. It's like, dudes, we've seen that 3 times. We've seen that in every single clip so far. That's nothing new. It really isn't. And if you've seen the original Comic-Con trailer, you've seen the pantsed Rhino one, and we've seen Electro multiple times. The ones I'm really looking at are Harry and Spider-Man in a room together, and Gwen on that giant gear thing. It's just
about the Peter and Harry one. I like that one the most, and I'm looking at it because it screams the Raimi trilogy. Like, I can literally see James Franco there and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. The room looks like the way they had Osborn's mansion. Harry sitting there like, you killed my father, Peter, and Peter like, we're more important things, Harry, than you and me right now. It really screams Raimi trilogy, this photo does.
You know, that was what I was thinking too when I first saw it, because the minute I saw that picture, I instantly snapped back to Spider-Man 2, and I was like, that is awesome. It's like, I don't want them to try to be distinctly similar to the Raimi trilogy, but little things like that I'm all for. It's like, that's awesome. It's like, I mean, it's nothing big. It's literally just the setting of the room, but it's like, come on, that's awesome. You can't be a fan of the Raimi trilogy and not realize that and see that that's really cool.
Yeah, it's exactly the same from the background, even with the curtains and the little dinosaur-like thing that's in the table with the tiger. That's almost like how Norman had all those masks hanging around.
The only thing that is missing is the knife holder thing. Is the holder of the knives.
Yeah, that's about it. But everything else screams Raimi, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Harry confronting Peter.
He really does, and I hope that, you know, I really do hope that this scene does kind of prove to be pretty cool, because, you know, it will be interesting if Harry knows that Peter is Spider-Man. I mean, because we still don't have confirmation yet on that, because we know what some semblance of the plot is, but we don't know everything yet, obviously, and hopefully we won't know everything when the movie comes out, because I know there have been a lot of spoilers going around out there. And I don't read that shit because I don't really want to know everything about this movie before it comes out. I'd like to be surprised. So, really, you know, I don't want to know everything about this movie before it comes out. But, you know, if Harry knows that Peter is Spider-Man, that could really be an interesting plot point. And I think that will only, you know, I don't know what that will do to the movie, but it'll definitely be interesting.
Yeah, it would be more than interesting, I think, if they do that. But I got more feeling that Peter's going to show up because he wants to know about what's going on with Electro. Then he's going to leave, become Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man's going to confront Harry. And that's going to be how Harry's going to put 2 and 2 together. Like, he's going to get all mad because Peter betrayed my trust when I told him this stuff, and now Spider-Man wanted to know. and then he's going to go talk to his father. Peter betrayed me, and then Norman's going to go for the whole, well, of course he did. He's Spider-Man, and he's out to get our family, and blah, 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 blah. And that's going to lead Harry to become the Goblin near the end. Is that he's going to think that Peter betrayed him and his father.
It's possible. It's possible. I've never really thought of the storyline that way, but, there's so many things they could do with this movie. I mean, honestly, I've been making predictions for this movie ever since the first one came out, and I've been proven wrong on pretty much every single one, so I'm really just going to shut my mouth in terms of predictions, so...
About the casting of Harry, I just want to go over it real quickly. I said this before, and I'll say this again. I love it how they almost kind of got the comic book feel with him, where with the first the trilogy, I like James Franco and the way he played the character, and he was playing a different Harry Osborn. But this one's more in line of the comics of the scrawny, not really good-looking Weasley Harry Osborn. He has the bad haircut. He's really skinny. He doesn't really seem like the pretty boy. Or with James Franco, he was like, how is he getting made fun of by the bullies with Peter in the beginning? Like, he looks like he should be with them instead of with Peter.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it right now. Does Dane DeHaan have to have emo hair in this movie? Does he really have to?
That's their way of doing the Osborn haircut, about the ugly Osborn cornrows. You can't do that. Okay, Harry's going to have an emo cut. That's their way of doing it, pretty much, I think.
As someone who's gone through a completely emo phase, and no...
How did you know about me in high school?
Dude.
I went to high school when Black Parade with My Chemical Romance was going on. You should have seen me in my emo days.
You should see me in my... Legitimately... I mean, I'm not making fun of emo people. I mean, because I've been there. I have been there, and kind of am still there. But... Legitimately, the emo hair... Emo hair really only looks good on people with dark hair.
Like me.
And, well, my hair is perfectly pitch black. So, it doesn't look as bad on me, at least I don't think, as it does on Harry. Because Harry's a blonde, or a light brown, or whatever it is. So, I'll just say that I'm not really a fan of the emo hair on Harry. But,
hey, true story about the emo phase of me. When I was going through my emo phase, it was during Spider-Man 3, and a lot of people called me Peter Parker because of it. Because it was right when Spider-Man 3 was going on.
Oh, see, when Spider-Man 3 came out, I was in the 4th grade, so I didn't even know what emo phase was. Yeah, but then...
God, congratulations, you just made me feel old. Because I told a story about me in high school, and you go, I was in the 4th grade.
Dude, I'm in high school right now. It fucking sucks. I'm just going to say that right now. That's literally why I do this college while in high school program. I go to a college during the day, and then during the day, I go to a college for most of the day, and then I go back to my high school for one class. Because I don't want to be there. The one class that I take at my high school, I physically cannot drop because I will go through withdrawal. I will go through marching band withdrawal. So I have to take band because I will go through withdrawal. I've gone through it before. There's something about me that's just a music geek. So that's literally the only class I take at my high school. I take every other class college. So that's how much I hate high school. But that also shows how devoted I am to music. But the other photo that we're all really looking at right now is Gwen Stacy on some kind of giant gear mechanism thing. Please, dear gosh, do not kill her.
She's gonna die. She's in the clothing from the issue when the Goblin killed her. She's dying. If that's from a final battle, and she's clearly up high on something, she's gonna fall and die. They're doing it.
But it doesn't mean I have to like it.
I'm calling it now, and you're probably gonna hate me, dude. But I'm calling it now. She's gonna fall. She's gonna die. 3 is gonna be him going through kind of like probably his emo phase. Spider-Man 3 kind of, all depressed. His girlfriend's dead. They're gonna introduce Mary Jane, and then for the 4th film, him and MJ are gonna hook up. Calling it now.
See, I'm not going to hate you for that because don't shoot the messenger, but it's like, do we need to kill Gwen? We don't need to. Emma Stone is there. We don't need to kill off Emma Stone's character.
I think didn't she sign on for the role knowing that Gwen's gonna die and wanting to do the death?
No, she's wanted to do the death ever since she signed on. That doesn't mean I have to be happy about it.
Because like they asked her after the first one came out, okay, you guys are signing on for sequels. What do you want to see happen with the sequels? And she goes, the death. I want her to die. That's Gwen's story. She dies.
Yeah, she legitimately said, I'm pushing for her death. And I'm like, no, you were one of the...
You can still get her. You can still get her if they do the whole clone saga thing, the Gwen clone.
Oh, please, dear gosh, no.
If they kill her off in 2, I think there's a big chance that Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 4 could be the clone saga. Because that's their way of bringing her back. Like, Peter started to move on with his life, kind of like in the comics. He's starting to move on. Mary Jane's becoming the love interest in the newer movies. And then Spider-Man 4 rolls around. Boom, Gwen clone. Boom, Ben Reilly.
Oh, please, dear gosh, no. I'm sorry. It's like, I enjoyed the Clone Saga, but it needs to stay in the comics. It needs to stay there.
I'm saying is, if they kill her off and they want to bring her back for sequels, that's how you do it. You do the Clone Saga. Because you can do the original Clone storyline from the 70s, which was just Ben Reilly, Gwen, and the Jackal, and that's it. You don't got to throw in all the 90s, 100,000 billion different clones.
Yeah, that was...
That's when I got into Spider-Man. I'm a 90s kid. I love the Clone Saga the way it was. But yeah, I can agree with everybody with their complaints about it.
I don't hate the Clone Saga. I mean, I just finished reading the Clone Saga this week in the back issues. And I didn't hate it. I felt it was good. Yes, there were problems with it, but I didn't feel that it was as bad as everyone made it out to be. But I don't want to see it done anywhere else, really. Except the end of the 90s series. That was pretty badass. But even then, that wasn't really a Clone Saga thing. That was just Spider-Man from other dimensions. But yeah, that was pretty cool. But
it was their way of doing the Clone Saga, pretty much. That was their way of doing it without making it the Clone Saga. You introduce one reality where Ben Reilly's in there, and everybody else is just a different dimension.
Yeah, that's...
And then you had the in joke. Then you had the in joke when Ben Reilly's explaining his origins, and then Peter keeps interrupting him with, "You're starting to sound like a bad comic book plot."
I know, that was... I saw that episode when I was a kid, and I didn't think anything of that line. I go back to watch that episode now, knowing what the Clone Saga is, and it's just like, yes.
They were pretty much calling it out. Those people who worked on that Spider-Man show were pretty much just calling it out. We're writing a better Spider-Man right now than Marvel is. Let's make a joke about that.
Yeah, this is starting to sound like a bad comic book plot. Yes. But Gwen on this gear, I know she's in the clothing. I know everything is pointing towards her dying, but please don't do it. Please. I know it's going to happen, and I know I'm in denial, but I don't want it to happen. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm just apologizing for you now, man. If you're a huge Gwen fan in these movies, she's gone.
She was so good in the first movie. It's like, come on.
Because another reason why I think she's going to die is that one, cause I think all the little promotional things they're doing with the viral videos, the Puma and stuff like that, I think they are going to hint at stuff that they may do. And the clone one, I just got a funny feeling because the clone one comes out and we know Gwen might die in this movie. You know they're setting it up for she might die, but we might do the clone story and bring her back. Like I think that was their way of teasing she's going to die is by saying Warren's starting the cloning process right now with the clone classes.
See, I still don't think anything of that. I take everything on that viral site with a grain of salt.
I know, because the way I can see how they would do it, and this is clearly just me just spitting out things, and you can tell me how stupid this sounds, but I can so see it being because she worked at Oscorp. If you want to bring in Warren and connect it with the Oscorp storyline, you can say that he used to work at Oscorp and he fell in love with her there, kind of creepily, older man with a teenage girl. you could say that there and it get really creeped out about this guy. And then when she dies, he was working at ESU because he got fired for something at Oscorp, and he's working at the college. He finds out that she dies, and then that's when he goes full in the clone thing. So you can still introduce her by saying he met her at Oscorp. So that's the way you can make it where it fits. And you could be creeped out by Warren even more because he fell in love with a teenage high school girl.
Yeah, just stay in the comic books, Clone Saga. Stay in the comic books.
I gotta admit, I'm a Clone fan, so if they don't do it, I'm not gonna be mad. But if they do any bit of the Clone Saga, I'm gonna be like, oh my god! Even if they just show Warren in one of the movies as a cameo, I'm gonna be like, yes!
Yeah, but that's really all there is to talk about with these picks. And again, we saw Alexei Sitsevich get pantsed. To me, that's just Orsi Kurtzman writing.
To me, that's just Peter Parker's supposed to be funny, so he did pants Rhino. Oh, he did pants the Rhino. Oh, Peter's funny, guys.
I just see that as Orsi Kurtzman type writing. Because Transformers...
I see it as Peter Parker writing.
The Transformers movies were full of stupid gags like that, so...
I brought up earlier about the ball scene.
Yeah.
That part still... Literally, I had the whole Stewie Griffin from Family Guy where he says done and he just walked out of the movie theater or whatever it is. That was my moment. Okay, they got to that joke. Done. I'm done. Gotta leave. Don't care. I don't care if I spent so much money for this at 3D. I'm getting my money back. Bye.
Yeah. So that's what immediately popped into my head was Orsi Kurtzman writing. But that's pretty much it. There's really nothing else to talk about with these picks. It's just they're there, they're cool, you know, pretty nice. But that's really it for the news topics this week. There hasn't been too much that we haven't already covered. So that's pretty much going to do it for this episode of the podcast, and that's going to do it for this week. So, yeah, James, any final words for the listeners before we sign off?
One final word, and that is to tune into my show tonight. Well, not tonight. This is all going to pass on next week, but I'm doing my podcast, my other one, my Power Ranger podcast, so please tune in and help us out. We're doing pretty good, but more viewers can never hurt, so check that out.
Yes. Angel Grove Radio Podcast, I think it's called.
Yeah, Angel Grove Radio.
Yes. Everyone go check out the Angel Grove Radio Podcast. I've not listened to an episode yet. I'm sorry. I will do that. I will do that. You know what? After we finish this recording, I'll go on my phone and download an episode. Download an episode of it right away. But yeah, my final words for the listeners. Sorry about the site being kind of slow on reviews this week. These past couple of weeks, actually. I've had really interesting weeks. Really interesting. So, hopefully you can all forgive me for the lack of content on the site recently. I've just had time to put up little news stories like that, but hopefully I will be able to get back into the swing of things again this upcoming week. And, yeah, so basically that's it. We will see you all later.